Oh, hello and welcome back to Waffle-Free Storytelling. It's Tina Konstant here. I have myself a cup of tea. I hope you have yours too. Because as always, the waffle is right at the end. And we are jumping right into today's story, which is called Because I Can. And it's a story about Kolio. He was a mountaineer. And he loved to climb. From when he was just 2 years old, everyone knew that if they were looking for Kolio, all they had to do was look on a rooftop or in the treetops, or really at the top of anything, and there he would be sitting with a happy smile on his face and the best view in the world. There was never any doubt about how he would spend his life. And since he was born and raised in a place surrounded by the most magnificent mountains, there was never any shortage of cliffs to scale, boulders to scramble, and peaks to defeat. And he defeated them all. There wasn't a mountain in the valley that he hadn't climbed a dozen times at least. Some envied him his clarity. "What are you doing today?" they would ask, hoping to trip him up. But Kolio always had an answer. "I am climbing that mountain today." He would point to his favorite peak. "I will leave at this time, and I will take that route, wear these shoes, take these tools, and be home at this precise hour." And he would do exactly that. To prove it, he would leave another flag at the top of the mountain, bask in the sun for a moment, and then retrace his steps back down to be home in time for dinner. His plan every day was so detailed and so precise that no one ever questioned him. Until one day, a stranger came to town. As always, people were asking Kolio what he was doing that day, and as always he told them. And when he delivered the final detail of his plan to climb his favorite mountain, the crowd cheered and applauded as they always did. But the stranger raised her hand and said, "Why?" Well, at first Kolio said nothing. Then he frowned, and he said, "What do you mean, why?" The stranger just smiled and said, "Well, it took a lot of effort to get to where you are. It took a lot of training, a lot of time, a lot of energy. Why are you doing it?" Kolio shrugged. Then he grinned, and then he threw his hands in the air, and he said, "Because I can." And the crowd cheered. Then he spun around and started towards the mountain. But as soon as his back was turned, the grin disappeared, and he trampled up the path with a scowl on his face and that stranger on his mind. When he returned that night, he wasn't happy. The crowd asked him how the climb was, and he ignored them and went to bed. The next morning, he packed a bag and went back to the town square. As always, people were asking where he was going that day and what he was doing. And again, albeit with a little more tension in his voice, he told them specifically how he was going to climb his favorite mountain, step by step, detail by detail. But he was distracted, because there, buying bread from the baker, was the stranger. The stranger said nothing, just smiled at Kolio, waved, and then disappeared into the crowd. That night, Kolio returned from his climb. He took the back routes home, avoiding everyone in the village. The climb had been fine, but he couldn't get the stranger's question out of his head. "Why?" he scowled. "Why does anyone do anything?" That night he muttered and he tossed and he turned, and he couldn't sleep. So with the moon high in the sky and frost thick on the ground, Kolio threw on his boots and his coat, and he stepped into the dark, still streets. The only sound came from a pick digging into ice. It was a sound Kolio knew well. What was this madness? Who was climbing ice in the dark? He ran to the mountain, and halfway up, taking a route Kolio had never dared take, was the stranger. Unharnessed, unaided, and unsupported, she hacked her way up the sheer, unforgiving surface. The ice was thick and wet. The rocks were hard and sharp. Her focus was complete. Kolio scrambled up the mountain and got as close to the stranger as he could. Careful to stay off the ice and away from the rocks, he called to her, "What are you doing?" The stranger grinned and kept climbing. "I'm climbing this mountain," she yelled back as if it was obvious. Kolio looked at the route that the woman had chosen. There were dozens of others she could have picked. Instead, there she was, hanging off the most dangerous edge. Kolio searched for a rope to throw the woman. "You've chosen the most difficult path," he said. "Why?" The woman kept going. The smile on her face was broad and bright. She looked up at the moon, the stars, and the heavens themselves, reflecting off the pale white ice. And she smiled at Kolio. "To see if I can," she said. "To see if I can." There you go. Little story about challenges. Sometimes we might think we are doing all we can, climbing our highest mountain. But if it's the same mountain we've climbed 100 times, maybe we need to climb ice in the dark. I don't know. Hey, you are spectacular. You are splendid. Thank you for joining me. Drop around to www.tinakonstant.com for more stories, waffle-free kid stories, waffle-free family stories are coming soon or here now, depending on when you pick up this episode. But it's a beautiful day. Go and tell the people you love how much you love them. And I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye now. Let's just check.